And today's tale we have the Cat Sìth. Okay, what is a Cat Sìth? Basically a Cat Sìth including 5 legendary tales. Have you ever heard of a Cat Sìth? The mysterious creature. It's feature of many a Scottish Celtic story, but also in Ireland as well. It's often feared by the people, but on occasion responsible for bringing good fortune too. We have included in this video a few of the Cat Sìth legends and fables, and see if we can unpack the history of this mysterious and magical beast so that you can figure out for yourself if it's a friend or foe. Well, first off, let's get right to the point. What is a Cat Sìth? The English translation of Cat Sìth is the fairy cat. The legendary Cat Sìth is a fairy creature originating from Scottish Celtic mythology. It also comes from Irish as well. It is believed to appear as a black cat, which is slender, but as large as a dog, with a white spot on its chest, and it haunts the Scottish Highlands, as well as the Irish ones. It walks on all fours around humans, but will stand on its hind legs when it's not being watched. It is commonly believed that the Cat Sìth of at least the Scottish Highlands was inspired by real-life Scottish wildcats, or more specifically, the keyless cat, which is a hybrid between the common domesticated cats and the wild cats of Scotland. When most wild cats have almost a tabby cat-like fur, the Scottish wild cats is sometimes all black. This would fit the description of the Cat Sìth being both dangerous and feral, yet in some cases being used as a household pet. Many people believe that the Cat Sìth were responsible for stealing the souls of the unburied dead, that they commonly preyed upon funeral pyres, such as places where the body is laid to rest and prepared prior to its burial. In the Highland folk would try and ward off the Cat Sìth with various riddles, music, and catnip, along with other things, and they would also keep the corpse in a cold room, as they believed the Cat Sìth was attracted to warmth. The Cat Sìth, meaning fairy dog, is the Cat Sìth's counterpart, which is also believed to haunt the Scottish Highlands, with a similar creature exists in Irish folklore, known as the Cat Sìth, and bears the same resemblance as the Welsh Cúnawan. Forgive my pronunciation of the Welsh, I don't speak Welsh. This canine version is said to make its home in the cliffs of the rocks and roams the moors, alleged being around the same size as a calf, which alleged green shaggy dog, large eyes, fairy glow, which shouldn't be surprised to hear that the Cat Sìth is said to have been even more sinister than the Cat Sìth. Whereas the Cat Sìth only stole the souls of the already dead, it is said that the Cat Sìth preyed on the living and was capable of silently stalking its victims and would take their souls to the fairy realm or the underworld. Sometimes 3 bound curling yowls that could be heard at great distances, even far out sea, would be uttered, when whoever heard the howling of the beast had to reach a place of safety by the 3rd howl, or else they'd be killed in sheer terror. The Cat Sìth in folklore. On Samhain, the Cat Sìth may be first folklore responsible for modern-day association between black cats and modern Halloween. Samhain is the ancient Celtic festival marked with the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the winter, or the darker half of the year. It is typically held between October 30th and November 7th, with celebrations lasting that long, and it all depended on the moon when that time was. It also dependent on how long it was. The ancients usually did a minimum of 2-week celebration. Nowadays, it's usually a night. On Simonius, it was believed that the Cat Sìth would bless any house that left a saucer of milk for a drink. Those houses that did not leave a saucer of milk were occasionally cursed by the Cat Sìth. This curse was said to cause udders of all the victims' cows to go dry. The late wake. As briefly mentioned before, the main reason that the people of this Scottish island didn't trust the Cat Sìth was because they believed that it could steal a person's soul before it was claimed by the gods, by passing over a corpse before it was buried. In order to protect their deceased loved ones' souls, watches called Fenflirch, which means late wake, were formed night and day to make sure the corpse was left unattended. It also devised a number of ways to distract the Cat Sìth, such as games of leaping and wrestling, and also riddles and music. They had often spread catnip throughout all the rooms of the house, except the room that the body was in, and they'd keep the room where the body was in very cold, with no fires, as they believed the Cat Sìth was attracted to warmth. Again, this is where they didn't know why, but they did modern funeral practices with keeping the body warm to aid in the slowing of decomposition. And one of the stories is the farmer's cat. As the story goes, there is a little farmer who, turning home from work in the field one night, when he encountered a very unusual funeral procession. Apparently, there was 8 cats carrying a coffin, which was draped in a royal shield. And following behind them was a parade of cats who were chanting about how the king of the cats was dead. Upon seeing this, the farmer was surprisingly not scared, but simply intrigued. One of the cats spoke to the farmer and said, "Tell Tom Tidrum that Tom Toldrum is dead." So he carried his way and arrived home and told his wife about what he had seen and decided that strange sighting. And his pet house cat said, "Old Tim is dead? Then I must be king." After speaking, the cat stood up, walked out of the house, and was never seen again by the farmer or his wife. A witch with 9 lives. This story may be part of the reason is commonly held belief that cats have 9 lives. While most folklore speaks of the Cat Sìth as a fairy creature, there's also another train of thought that suggests the creature is actually a witch who has the ability to change into a form of a cat. According to this particular tale, the witch changed into a black cat to a witch again 8 times, usually done whilst in danger. But on the 9th transformation, she was forced to remain a cat forever. Tardam. The cat she believed by many to take another form of, or at least very related to, the legendary demonic cat, which is sometimes known as Big Ears. Big Ears can be summoned in a brutal divination ceremony known as the Techram. In this barbaric ritual, cats were roasted alive for 4 days, one after the other, with no food to the consumer by the practitioners. Will not be doing this ritual. Do not suggest doing this ritual. Warning, do not do this one. Icky ritual, but it was done. Some say that this supposedly summoned a legion of devils in the guise of black cats, which their master at the head, all screeching in a terrifying way. Some say that this was cause Big Ears to appear and grant any wish to those who took part in the ceremony. Either way, doesn't sound like a practice that we will be resurrecting anytime soon. Alan Chersk was a bloodthirsty and merciless warrior who would mount expeditions to plunder his neighbors. In the territory from his home in Tor Castle by the late 1400s, however, his fortune had waned, and he sought counsel from Gormshild, the blue-eyed witch. Under her direction, aided by a servant, he went to Cornkin just outside Tor Castle, near the present-day Fort William, to attempt to call the Tergam Nankat. The servant commenced the process of roasting the cat before a slow fire. Kalbrick, the king of the cats, appeared and offered his counsel in return for the libation of the victim on the spit. Once fed, the cat disappeared into what was to be known as Bruni Anchat, the pool of the cats on the River Loki. In return, Alan asked how might he atone for his wicked past. To obtain forgiveness of the king of the cats ordered Alan to build 7 churches, one for every creature he had raised. Alan commenced his church building immediately, and before he died, he had indeed kept his side of the agreement. Those are just some of the stories of the Cat Sìth. This is a wonderful creature, marvelous. Love them to bits. Enjoy your Simonius.